Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rod here with the Hodler Fud Crypto, your new source for all things cryptocurrency. Well guys, we're diving in and it's going to be a deep dive into a project tonight that's got me so amped up I couldn't wait to share it with you. Now, as you know, if you've watched the videos in the past, I've always been a huge supporter of Cardano and where we think it can take us. Now, you know, there's always been so much said about Cardano and how it promises big things, but we're not quite there yet. Well, the most exciting thing just happened where Cardano onboarded one of the largest transactions in blockchain history, bringing 5 million users with their Africa special. Well, what does that mean to us and where do we think things are going? Stay tuned to find out where we think this thing's heading, okay guys? So if we dive into what is Cardano, well, Cardano is an open source public blockchain platform that has its own currency called ADA. And the network will someday also support smart contracts. And they're really hoping to do that in the Alonzo hard fork coming up in, well, it was always described as April to May, but it looks more like it might be a May to June type thing. And as one of the biggest critiques of Cardano would be the delay or the time frame for them to really stretch things out to make things perfect. Charles Hoskins has really always prided himself on slow playing this up and not just rushing something to the market that has a bunch of flaws. Now, Charles realized that it was still a way that he could capitalize on things when he was part of the Ethereum blockchain. And what they brought in was just a project that was flawed, and they knew that they were going to have to make fixes along the way. He doesn't want to go through those same struggles with the Cardano network. So what he has really roadmapped is a really slow, long play. Now, if you look back to 2017, you see that it came out late in the bull run, which spiked the price up. And then we had our pullback. And then now we're looking at as things really have built a lot of momentum for Cardano lately. They're actually going to maybe be hitting their hard fork for smart contracts as this bull run is already underway. So it could actually give us quite a bit of run up this year still. So as we talked about it being a smart contract platform coming out, the element of Cardano is still under construction, so it's not widely available for use yet. But Cardano is priding itself on having some very bright minds working on its systems, with scientists from universities like the University of Edinburgh and Tokyo Institute. What Cardano is really loving, what they're doing is a peer-reviewed approach where they're having all their code validated from other sources, right? So they're sending this out for peer review, having it tested and manipulated through different avenues, and then posting that code as its true code. So it's a really big project and they've got really big aspirations. But if you jump over on the Cardano website here, the biggest thing that jumps out right away is not talking about how it's going to integrate as a blockchain, but more as what their key message that they want to put out. Now, Cardano itself and Charles Hoskins himself has always talked about making the world a better place. And it's about talking about banking the unbanked and providing identification for people that don't have identification, and tracking products and individuals in ways that will benefit them and give them power through themselves, and not let the government in these countries have all this power. So the first thing you see when you jump on the Cardano site is making the world work better for all, which is absolutely mind-boggling on where this thing's actually trying to work within governments. You're talking about student identifications, grades, attendance, all these records being now tied into one person's identification kept on a blockchain. So not only are we going to be able to share data faster, but we're going to be able to validate who people are faster and authenticate users and people. So there's really big use case for what Cardano is looking to put out there. And I'm really excited with this Africa special they've got going right now, where they onboarded 5 million people, which is the single largest transaction in blockchain history. That's the biggest number of people onboarding onto a system ever in blockchain history. Huge news for Cardano. They're getting where they want to go. It's a slow play. It's meandering. It's methodical. but it's exactly as Charles wanted. So what we need to really do is allow this thing to bake and grow into exactly what it needs to be so that we can all cherish on what's coming out for Cardano. Now, I'm not to say that Cardano is the be all and the end all, the one and the only, but it's definitely showing signs of picking up on all of the shortcomings of Ethereum and blockchain in general. Where Cardano's looking to go is kind of, trying to take some of the best projects from each platform and make them themselves. So Cardano is looking to do some sort of supply chain control. So they're trying to take on, well, what did we talk about the other day? Who's the biggest and best supply chain control out there right now? We're looking at VeChain. VeChain's a very great project, but Cardano's trying to integrate that into their blockchain. They're talking about smart contracts, and we're all waiting for that smart contract ability to come into Ethereum, but we have a bunch of these other ecosystems trying to bring their own smart contract into blockchain. Well, Cardano's getting really close to doing that. We're talking about identification and banking and finance. One of the biggest things about DeFi and what people start to love about it is DeFi is decentralized finance and not having to go through typical avenues to get money. Well, if we're talking about banking the unbanked, think about being somebody in Africa who has had no access to a financial institution or institutional money to do stuff. If you're now providing peer-to-peer lending abilities to these people on a smart contract platform, it's going to give them the needs or the means they need to get through in life. Now, the biggest thing that is absolutely huge for these people would be the fact that not only are they going to have identification and banking, we've got record keeping on individuals, we've got ID assigned to individuals as they're born, or people that have never been identified or had that availability are now going to have that availability through Cardano's network in the blockchain with Africa. So there's a lot of positives coming up here. I think the one thing that you can look at is the proof of stake and the Ouroboros is being environmentally sustainable for the protocol of the blockchain. It's that peer-reviewed, verifiable, secured protocol, and Cardano is the first blockchain to implement it. So Ouroboros enables the Cardano network's decentralization and allows it to sustainably scale to global requirements without crucially compromising security. We look at evidence-based development, so the highest standard in development rooted in science. Cardano is developed using evidence-based methods, a novel combination of formal methods which are normally found in critical high-stake applications, and an agile approach, which helps the project remain adaptable and responsive to emerging requirements and new innovations. We got secure networks, unparalleled security, making a trustless world. So it's about making two people enter into a transaction, not knowing each other, and taking away that level of fear and allowing me to trust in the smart contract that's going to go ahead and be able to carry out that transaction without having to, foster some kind of trust from an individual. They've got an open and incentivized participation. So Cardano's got a very large staking pool, and it talks about how, an epochs is a level of time, and the more money that you have staked in Cardano, the rewards that are available to you. So guys, it's a really big project, and you can understand when you have a really big project and you rush it to market on how that's going to have some kind of a negative effect on it. So really understand why Charles is taking his time and really trying to cultivate something special and have it come out flawless. Now, there's going to be people that say, well, what happens if it doesn't come out flawless and we've waited all this time? Well, yes, that maybe could happen. And, if it does happen, where does that lead us and what does that take us? Well, guess what? We found a way to evolve and adapt to the shortcomings of Ethereum, and look at where Ethereum's grown and gone to. We're just about into Mother's Day here now, and a year ago, you could have got Ethereum for $90 and it's going to go through $4,000 tonight. So, we found a way to adapt and grow with Ethereum. Cardano's trying to do all that baking before it hits as a fully optimized blockchain. So there's some really big things that they're going through. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the biggest use cases for Cardano and where they really hope to make things blossom for themselves. Well, if you think about what we just spoke about with education, and what it does is it allows to provide credential verification. So the issuance of academic certifications is heavily centralized. If diplomas, degrees, and other credentials are damaged or lost, the reissue process is often costly, and the issuing institution might no longer exist. So sharing these credentials is difficult, as academic achievements are traditionally issued in physical forms, which makes it almost impossible to share when and where needed. So IOHK has got Atlanta Prism as the product. It is going to be deployed on the Cardano blockchain, and it's going to make that information interchangeable and available when needed. It's also going to be something that can be part of your identification and passed on in kind of some form of passport. Retail. So what are we going to be able to do for retail? Well, in 2018, counterfeit goods inflicted a $300 billion blow to the global economy, and the problem is getting worse. If the trend is not reversed, markets will become flooded with fake products, leading to substantial financial losses, damage to brand reputation, and marked reduction in customer confidence. So we're talking about making a brand or a product that you're going to have the utmost certainty that it is real. So we're looking at now supply chain. So again, we talked about how, VeChain is first in line, or the most operable supply chain available right now. Well, what Cardano's bringing in the retail would be through Alta Scan, will help with that supply chain. So validating what you're buying, where it came from, validating that there's confidence that it is a real and authentic product. Also that, it's sourced from where they're saying it's sourced from. So really big application for retail and supply chain as a whole, again, baked into the Cardano blockchain. This is really starting to look like something that is trying to take over as a third generation blockchain, much to as first generation would be classified as Bitcoin, second generation would be classified as Ethereum. Cardano is really trying to make that third generation for themselves. So they're the next big thing. So what's another one here? We can go down. We got another use case for agriculture. So the pandemic has starkly shown that maintaining a solid and consistent supply chain is a key pillar for the success and sustainability of any industry sector, and needed for the safety and well-being of the population. Agriculture is a source of food and sustenance whose supply chain must be kept going at all times, as livelihoods depend on it. Blockchain technology has emerged as a viable method to support all the stakeholders along the supply chain. Farmers, haulers, retailers can use blockchain for product certification and traceability from farm to table. Using systems like Atlanta Trace will definitely help with this. Now, you look at how this would actually go day to day. So say you're sitting down, you're going to go have dinner, and you go fire up barbecue and you go throw chicken on, and you can scan the box of chicken. You find out that that's part of a recall. Now there's no questions. You're not really trying to have to dive into the internet or pay attention to everything that's been recalled online. You can now do that strictly through the supply chain availability of what Cardano is bringing to network. So you're gonna have all the information on that food. Is there a recall? Where does it come from? Which farmer grew it? How did it get to where it got to? All of that information. You have companies that are promoting sustainability and greener options. Now you can actually go down and actually look at those products and see how they're getting the consumer goods to people. Are they actually following the most sustainable method to doing that? So it's a really big ecosystem that we're building here. What's another use case? We've got government. So a current credential issuance and verification systems are inherently flawed document and control remains with the issuer rather than the individual. For example, when creators a strong dependency or on a third-party agency to verify the document's authenticity, this usually involves a manual, costly, and time-consuming process depending on the location and response time of the issuing authority. Alta Prism, IOHK's another product for them, addresses this flaw through provisions of digital identity services. Leveraging blockchain technology, Alta Prism enables users to have full control of their credentials, which they share and instantly verify anytime, anywhere. So think about going through customs or crossing borders. All of this information is readily available. Something like this already exists with the border crossings. I forget what they call it now. It's like a fast pass to get around. So it's really big for allowing for the flow of information and verifying who's actually standing in front of somebody. Another use case for this would be with the financial industry, right? So finance, again, we're using onboarding or the Alta Prism network, and identification verification is a key step before accepting new clients into the financial institutions or other agencies. Simply opening a new bank account in certain countries takes weeks, for example. Other administration processes, passport applications for existence, are even longer. The onboarding process is slow and resource heavy, often involving multiple third parties with their own fees. Alta Prism can streamline and accelerate onboarding through the utilization of reusable, verifiable credentials. So we're talking about how we can get into opening accounts and verifying who people are and taking away all of those levels. You've seen the bureaucracy. You go to the bank to open an account, and it's not just enough that you have the money and say who you are. Now you need to have 3 pieces of identification and a mailing address, and you can see it becomes a cumbersome thing. Now, if you had that all tied to a blockchain profile ID profile, it's actually going to be readily available for everywhere you go. Like, think of the availability of information we carry in our pockets, just in our phones alone, guys. Blockchain is going to be doing that everywhere we go with us, taking away some of that burden and organizing. So the final use case for Cardano in that network that they're looking is healthcare. And again, we're using Alta Scan, but we're talking about counterfeit medicines. So counterfeit and substandard medications pose a significant risk to public health and inflict severe financial loss to legitimate manufacturers. Cost, peer pressure, and other reasons pushed many people to acquire medications in online pharmacies, which in many cases lack strict controls and regulations surrounding the manufacture and supply of therapeutic drugs. The WHO, or the World Health Organization, estimates that more than 50% of the medications sold online can be categorized as fake or substandard. This problem can be addressed through blockchain solutions. Alta Scan can authenticate and verify the origin and supply chain of pharmaceutical products, guaranteeing the safety and well-being of patients worldwide. Again, it's a really rich and heavy supply chain that Cardano is really offering, but it also is going to allow to bank the unbanked. It's going to allow identification and construct purposes within the government where you're going to give control to people and not have governments like in Ethiopia and Africa that have all the control on how the people of that country are treated or how they can be treated. So it's really big, guys. Honestly, I would love to sit here and go over price predictions in this video, but there's just so much information to get out. And in an attempt to keep these videos kind of short, I'm gonna cut this off as a review of Cardano tonight and hit you guys with a price prediction video for tomorrow. I love doing these videos where you can deep dive into something. I've been a big supporter of Cardano since I've been in the cryptocurrency space, but it's honestly one of the biggest. And you know, if you have the same vision of what Charles is doing, and actually do yourself a favor, guys, I need you guys to go out and just Google interviews with Charles. Charles Hoskins, who's the founder of IOHK. He is the head of Cardano and the Cardano blockchain. go out and listen to what this guy's talking about. He's not just a guy out there feeding lines and theories and prophecies. You need to go out and actually listen to what this guy's saying, because he's talking about how things are flawed and how he's hoping to change. Go ahead and look at videos where people are asking him for price predictions. He is not so tied to the price as he's tied to fixing what's broken. That is the most important part of this whole program for Charles, is fixing what's broken in the world. And he wants to do it at a scale that is unfathomable. It's unbelievable. If Cardano can go where he wants to take it, this thing's going to blow the absolute doors off this place, okay? Honestly, you couldn't even fathom a price for what Cardano could be if it gets to where we think it could go. You think Ethereum's got a great price point right now? Cardano will blow it out of the water if the use case comes to be what they're saying the use cases are going to be. Sure, it's a slow play. It's a low plotter. But what we do know about Cardano is every time it pumps traditionally in a 3x manner. But I'm going to save that for tomorrow's video for price predictions. That's what I got for tonight, guys. Remember to protect yourself. Don't wreck yourself. Hodler Fudd out.